I'm Dr. T. Welcome to my home office. So today I'd like to talk a bit about Plato. Now, I'm not jumping into too much philosophy, but Plato has this really interesting idea. His idea that the person is like the society. What goes on and what's important for the person is also important for the society. So you understand one, you understand the other. Now, he's using this basically to generate what we would now think of as sociology and economics. But I think he's got a really good idea, is that, especially in the case of cells, you can think of a lot of the terms of what's going on in the cell in terms of economics. And it's like, that has nothing to do with cells. I mean, other than people are made of cells and people buy stuff and that makes your economy. But you actually have a lot of the same struggles. So if you think about a city or a society, you're going to need energy. You're going to need raw materials. You're going to need to get rid of waste. You're going to have to produce order and structure. You're going to have machinery or people or whatnot to take the raw materials and produce finished goods that you need to deal with everything you have to deal with. You have to have security. And yeah, a cell needs to acquire energy. A cell needs to acquire raw resources. It needs to deal with waste. It needs to have defense mechanisms. It's going to have order and structure. It has to have enzymes to make stuff. Yeah. When you think about at the cellular level, and I'm going to be a little bit less bold here on the other two, the organism or the ecological level, but I think I can say that. They all mirror the same concept on a very surface level. Don't get me wrong. These are very imperfect analogies. But this does mean if once you start understanding what's going on in one field, you start seeing the patterns in the other. So let's think about cells/organisms. One thing that, if you're talking about biochemistry, one thing that will come in are essential nutrients. And of course, for every organism, these nutrients are different. For a plant, it doesn't need nearly as much. But it still needs some. It needs nitrogen, phosphorus, etc. So now ignoring those nutrients that are literally elements, whether it be metal ions or actual nitrogen, actual phosphorus, those you cannot make. Those are absolutely the rawest of raw materials. But if you think about, say, a human, we require certain amino acids. We don't have the biochemistry to make them. We can't manufacture certain fatty acids. Small molecules we can't manufacture for use as cofactors, so we have to consume them and refer to them as vitamins. If you look at these as a whole, what you'll start seeing is a couple of commonalities. For starters, you tend to eat them. They're acquired at a relatively low cost to yourself. If you think something like ascorbic acid, if you're consuming lots of fruit, you're getting lots of ascorbic acid. It's in everything. It's loaded. About the only time you don't get it is if you try and, preserve the food over a long period of time. Of course, that's absolutely essential and thus leads to, problems. Now, most creatures make their own ascorbic acid. Humans and guinea pigs are one of the few that don't. I think it's guinea pigs. Anyways. Why don't we? Well, we get enough of it in our diet anyways. In order to make ascorbic acid, we would require several different enzymes that we don't have. Okay, so why don't we have them? Well, why would we? We get enough ascorbic acid. Enzymes are expensive to make, not in terms of money, but in terms of energy and raw resources. That energy and raw resources could be done elsewhere, used for something else. If you think about a company as well, they're going to be doing a similar thing. If you think about McDonald's, they don't grind their own wheat. At least I sure don't think they do. Why would they? They can just buy wheat. Yes, at a certain scale, you could imagine entirely incorporating your own supply chain as having some benefits, but frankly, it's easier just to pay somebody else to do it. They can go on a much larger scale, make all the wheat they want, and you can simply acquire the wheat from them at a small cost to you. It's cheaper to pay them than to build up your entire supply chain. Same goes for us. So when we start thinking about enzymes in the terms of capital and equipment, things that would be straight out of economics, we start to understand why there are things such as essential nutrients. We can also look at different energy sources and the idea of portfolios. in economics, or at least personal finance, you'll probably be told that, hey, you've got a pile of money. Hopefully you have a pile of money. Hopefully it's not the opposite. And that you're not going to just buy one stock. Pro tip, don't just buy one stock. You're going to have a diversified set of stocks, bonds, other income sources, as well as good old FDIC insured savings accounts. You have this because under different circumstances, these will perform differently. Right now, stocks have nosedived due to current geopolitical events. FDIC insured accounts, they're doing fine. But over the long run, stocks typically will earn more interest, and money that was just sitting in a savings account will actually go down in its ability to spend because of inflation. So I keep a variety. If I'm an organism, I'm going to keep some of my energy reserves as fatty acids. Depending on the organism I am, of course, because every individual has their own needs, just like everyone's portfolio will be slightly different depending on their own needs. Fatty acids are great long-term energy stores. They're not perfect. I can't do quite as much chemistry with them, depending on what enzymes I have. So, for example, as a human, I can't produce carbohydrates from fatty acids. I can only make fatty acids from carbohydrates. So I'll have to take a couple of short steps, like doing ketone bodies, in order to run organs that require carbohydrates. But fatty acids are a great long-term energy store. Alternatively, I could use polysaccharides, but those are heavier. I can store energy, and I do in the form of glycogen, but that's a lot more math. So I don't want to store a whole lot of energy in the form of glycogen just because I don't want to carry it around. Now, if I was a potato or something, I could use starch. Potatoes don't walk much, and therefore they don't really care how big they get. Alternatively, I could use monosaccharides, but those are chemically reactive. I do keep a fair amount of my energy in monosaccharides, aka blood sugar, but not a lot because it causes too many collateral damage. So, hey, I'm going to have a portfolio. I'm going to have some monosaccharides for immediate use, polysaccharides for kind of short term, and lipids for long-term energy storage. Same as I've got a blend of stocks, bonds, and FDIC insured savings accounts. Hey, the basic idea goes the same. So the more you know about one, you start getting insights into the other fields. Another value of diversifying your understanding into not just one topic. With that said, have a wonderful day.